The slums of Ndala City were a world within a world, a maze of narrow alleys where the smell of fried plantain mixed with the stench of open drains, where the hum of life never stopped. Children chased each other barefoot through puddles, traders shouted prices in the market, and radios blared old Afrobeat songs from cracked speakers. Sade lived here, in a one-room shack of rusted tin sheets and patched wood. Her bed was a thin mattress on the floor, her window a square hole covered with cloth. She had skin like smooth mahogany, deep brown eyes that held both fire and caution, and hair coiled into thick twists that framed her face. Every day, she carried baskets for market vendors, earning a few coins, enough for bread and maybe a handful of beans. Yet she often stopped to watch the distant skyline of Ndala, the glass towers, the royal palace's golden roof gleaming under the sun. She told herself that one day she would see the inside of those walls. But in Ndala, dreams like that belonged to the rich. It was the day of the Royal Charity Parade, an event where the people could see Prince Simba, heir to the throne. The main avenue was clean till it shone, banners of red and gold hanging from lampposts, and the air was filled with excitement. Sade had no reason to be there. She had errands to run, baskets to carry, but curiosity pulled her in. She wove through the crowd until she was at the front, her bare feet pressed against the hot pavement. Then came the motorcade, black SUVs, the royal guard on sleek motorbikes, and at the center, a limousine with its window open. Prince Simba sat inside, tall and broad-shouldered, with skin like polished ebony and a neatly trimmed beard. His agbada was royal blue, embroidered with golden lions. He waved to the crowd, his smile warm but regal. Sade stared, struck by the sheer distance between them, not in space, but in life. The cheering was loud until it wasn't. A ripple of panic moved through the people. From the left side of the crowd, a man in a black hood shoved forward, his arm flashing with steel. The dagger caught the sunlight as he lunged toward the limousine. The guards were a split second too far. Without thinking, Sade dropped her basket, oranges rolling across the road. She lunged, grabbing the attacker's wrist with both hands. The blade sliced across her palm, hot blood running down her arm, but she twisted until the dagger clattered to the ground. Gasps turned into shouts. Guards tackled the man, forcing him down. Sade stepped back, her chest heaving, the pain in her hand sharp but forgotten in the chaos. Prince Simba stepped out of the limousine, his eyes fixed on her. There was gratitude in his gaze, but also surprise, maybe even respect. "You saved my life," he said, his voice deep and calm despite the commotion. Sade swallowed hard. I just did what anyone would do." "Not everyone would risk their life for a stranger," he said, a faint smile touching his lips. "Come to the palace. I'll see you rewarded." For the first time in her life, the crowd chanted her name. Guards made a path for her to follow the convoy, and hope bloomed inside her like light breaking through clouds. The royal convoy rolled into the palace grounds, the golden gates rising high above the street. Sade followed, each step a drumbeat in her chest. She imagined walking on marble floors, eating at tables covered in silver dishes. But as she reached the gates, a guard stepped forward. His face was stone. "No entry. The prince has given no such order." Sade's voice shook. He told me to come. You heard wrong. The guard cut in. His hand signaled the others. The gates closed with a clang that echoed in her chest. The cheers were gone. Around her, people moved on as if nothing had happened. Sade stood there until the sun dipped lower, the heat leaving her skin, replaced by a deep, aching cold. Back in the slums, people talked. At first, they called her a hero, but the story changed in the retelling.
She staged it, some said.
She worked with the attacker for money, others whispered. Sade kept her head down, but each word felt like a stone in her gut. The cut on her palm healed slowly, but the scar reminded her of the moment she had touched greatness and been pushed away. A month later, the palace announced a gala to honor heroes of the kingdom. The newspapers printed the list of names: decorated soldiers, wealthy donors, famous athletes. Sade's name wasn't there. She read the paper twice, her lips pressed tight. That night, she sat outside a cafe in the rich district, watching limousines glide past. The women in glittering gowns, the men in tailored suits, they passed her without seeing her at all. She whispered to herself, "One day, they will know me." The night of the gala arrived. Fireworks lit up the sky, reflecting off the palace's golden dome. Music and laughter spilled into the streets. Then, the sharp crack of gunfire. Screams filled the air as masked men stormed the palace gates. Guards shouted orders. Smoke billowed above the courtyard. From an alley near the side wall, Sade watched chaos unfold. She could have run. Instead, she turned toward the danger. Sade knew the palace area better than most. She had spent weeks wandering its outer streets, memorizing guard shifts. The old service tunnel near the eastern wall was unguarded. She slipped inside, the stone walls damp and cold. Her bare feet made no sound as she moved toward the muffled chaos ahead. When she emerged into the east wing, the air was thick with smoke. Tables were overturned, food scattered, chandeliers swinging from the impact of explosions outside. Prince Simba was cornered by two masked men, one with a pistol, the other with a knife. His back was against the wall. Sade grabbed a heavy bronze candlestick from a table and swung it into the knife wielder's head. He dropped instantly. The gunman turned, aiming at her. She kicked his knee, sending him to the ground before he could fire. Simba stared at her, breathless. "You again? Guess I wasn't finished saving you," she said, her chest rising and falling fast. The guards rushed in moments later, securing the attackers. But Simba didn't let Sade walk away. He took her scarred hand in his own. "You've saved me twice. That's more than loyalty. That's courage," he said. They stepped into the grand hall together. But as they entered, the music stopped. The nobles stared at her. Bare feet, torn skirt, stood on her face, with thinly veiled disgust. Simba's jaw tightened. Later that night, the royal council gathered. Ministers spoke in low, sharp voices. "She is from the slums, Your Majesty." "She doesn't belong here," one said. "She's a hero," Simba replied, his voice hard. "She will stain the crown's image," another minister sneered. From the corridor, Sade heard every word. The sting was sharper than the blade that had cut her weeks before. The king summoned Sade the next morning. He was tall, his robe deep red, his crown heavy with diamonds. His expression was unreadable. "You saved my son's life twice," he said. "But bravery alone is not enough to walk these halls. Show me you can lead, not just fight." He handed her a small purse of gold. "Rebuild the burnt children's shelter in the poorest quarter. No more than this." It was a task meant to test or to break her. Sade returned to the slums and gathered workers. She bought materials herself, refusing bribes from officials who wanted a cut of the gold. She worked alongside the builders, carrying bricks, cooking for the children, sleeping on the shelter floor. Slowly, walls rose again. Fresh paint covered the scars of fire. New beds, bright classrooms, and a kitchen that smelled of maize porridge transformed the space. The slums whispered again, but this time it was respect. 6 weeks later, the king visited the shelter. He walked through the halls, his gold-tipped staff tapping against the clean floor. "You built this with so little?" he asked. Sade smiled. "Sometimes little is all you need if you know the value of it." The king turned to Simba. "She has more than courage. She has the heart of a leader." That evening, the golden gates of the palace opened wide. The courtyard was filled with reporters and citizens. The king placed a medal around Sade's neck. From this day, Sade is welcome in this palace, not as a guest, but as royal advisor for community affairs. The cheers were deafening. Sade stepped onto the marble floor barefoot, the same way she had once approached these gates in hope and been turned away. This time, she wasn't just allowed in. She belonged.